All right, well, we look at one of the most powerful men in global philanthropy and why his name has resurfaced in connection with the Jeffrey Epstein files. Hello and welcome to another episode of Deep Dive brought to you by NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra, and now with the latest release of documents tied to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, fresh scrutiny has fallen on several high-profile figures, including Bill Gates. Well, the documents include photographs, draft communications and references to meetings, reigniting questions about Gates' past association with Epstein. But what exactly do the files show us? What has Gates admitted to and what has he denied, and how has this impacted his foundation and, of course, his personal life? Let's get right into it factually, carefully and without speculation. Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier who died in 2019 while awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges, maintained connections with influential figures across politics, academia and business. Over the years, thousands of documents tied to his network have been unsealed through court proceedings and government disclosures. In the latest round of releases, materials have drawn renewed attention to Bill Gates, who met Epstein multiple times between 2011 and 2014, years after Epstein had already served jail time for sex-related offenses. It is important to state clearly at the outset that being mentioned in the Epstein files does not in itself indicate criminal wrongdoing. Bill Gates has repeatedly denied any illicit conduct and says his interactions with Epstein were a huge mistake but strictly professional in nature. So what exactly links Bill Gates to Jeffrey Epstein in this, or rather in these newly discussed files? Well, let's separate documented facts from assumption. Between 2011 and 14, Bill Gates met Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. These meetings took place years after Epstein had served jail time in 2008 for sex-related offenses. According to reporting and Gates' own statements, the meetings were framed as discussions around philanthropy. Epstein had presented himself as someone who could connect wealthy individuals to charitable causes. Gates says he was exploring potential fundraising avenues for global health initiatives. Gates has acknowledged that meeting Epstein after his conviction was a serious error in judgment. He has described it publicly as a huge mistake and even called himself foolish for having acquainted himself with Jeffrey. He also admits that he never got anything out of those meetings. Now to the image that has drawn attention. Among materials released were photographs showing Bill Gates standing with a woman whose face was blurred out in publicly released versions. Addressing the photograph, Gates has said that he was asked to pose for pictures and believed the women present were Epstein's assistants or staff. He has maintained that the meeting was related to philanthropy discussions and that he was unaware of any illicit activity taking place. Still, critics argue that the issue is not whether illegal acts occurred in that photograph, but why did Gates continue meeting Epstein after his 2008 conviction? And that question leads us to the next development, the draft communications that surfaced in the files beyond meetings and photographs. Another element of the document release has drawn significant attention. Draft communications attributed to Jeffrey Epstein that contain personal claims about Bill Gates. Here's what we know. Amongst the materials made public were draft emails written by Jeffrey Epstein. These were unsent communications, meaning they were never officially delivered. In those drafts, Epstein made claims about Bill Gates involving alleged encounters with Russian women and a claim that Gates had contracted a sexually transmitted infection and sought medical treatment. There is no evidence in the files corroborating these claims. They appear in drafts written by Epstein and were not verified by prosecutors. Gates has categorically denied these allegations. He has described the claims as false and misleading. In internal remarks to foundation staff and through representatives, Gates has reiterated that he did not engage in illegal conduct. The allegations in Epstein's draft communications are untrue. His meetings with Epstein were centered around philanthropic discussions. But the Epstein Association did not just create reputational damage, it also had consequences inside Gates' personal life, particularly his marriage to Melinda Gates. She has spoken publicly about how that period affected her in past interviews. Melinda Gates has been clear she was deeply uncomfortable with her husband's meeting with Jeffrey Epstein. She has described meeting Epstein once and immediately finding him evil personified. She also confirmed that the association with Epstein was one of several factors that contributed to the breakdown of her marriage. In interviews following earlier document releases and again after fresh details have surfaced, Melinda said that revisiting time brought back very, very painful memories. She did not defend the allegations in the draft emails. Instead, she emphasized the emotional toll that period took on her and her family. She has said that she believes people connected to Epstein need to answer questions, while also making clear that she has moved forward in her life since the divorce. The couple announced their divorce in 2021 after 27 years of marriage, while neither party attributed the separation to one single issue. Melinda has acknowledged that Gates' continued contact with Epstein after his 2008 conviction deeply troubled her. The files show that Bill Gates met and associated with Jeffrey Epstein after his conviction. They include photographs and unsent draft claims that Gates denies. There are no charges against him, but the questions about judgment and about why those meetings continued still remain. We'll talk about this with Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian. Joyita, a bit of skepticism, right? If a guy like Bill Gates, who perhaps around 2014 to the period 2008, 2011 to 2014 was the richest man in the world, really had to be in touch with a convicted sex offender for philanthropy. I mean, with that kind of cash and that kind of power, you know, the world is at your feet. Why would Bill Gates necessarily need somebody like Jeffrey Epstein? That, of course, is a point to ponder.
Well, of course, you have a point, but at the same time, it is a case of innocent until proven guilty. I mean, this is not like Prince Andrew, what we are witnessing. It's a case of, it's out there in the open that what kind of an offender he was. He has a track record of that. Well, the thing is that but in the case of Bill Gates, well, actually, he is a true achiever. Well, what is Prince Andrew's achievement? Nothing. And the thing is that you have to take it at face value. And when he's saying something like that, you have to, if you are going to put maybe some other person in that kind of a situation, when it comes to the foundation money, he says that he was associating with Epstein for basically fundraising and all for foundation. This is that Bill Gates Foundation, which obviously it is outside the Microsoft's own, profits and losses and everything. So the whole point is that if he felt the need, it shows how, I would say, if not desperate for funds, how very unintelligent he was. That is primarily, if we are going to say that he is innocent, then we have to say that, well, he was not very intelligent to hobnob with a man like Epstein. But at the same time, we have to understand a man like him, the kind of standing he had in, among the rich and the educated. Think of it like this. And that is what we should be really shocked about. And that is something all this elite, they should be ashamed of. That in spite of being frankly, a felon, a rapist, who had obviously a reputation which was known, they allowed him to get away scot-free. It is time to ponder about that much more than, whether, if he is saying that, well, I would believe him. Let's put it this way. Bill Gates has done too much of he has done too much philanthropic work as well. But then that does not excuse his stupidity of associating with Epstein.
Joyita, a number of people throughout the world, who have even met Jeffrey Epstein once and are in, are in a position of power or have an image to protect, have either withdrawn from that position of power, put in their resignations. What can Bill Gates do besides just apologizing?
Well, he has to clear his name. Simple as that. And the only way his name can be cleared is until and unless all these Epstein files come out, the victims, they come out and talk. Okay, even if their names are withheld and all, there has to be a thorough probe. But at the same time, if you are looking at the list of crimes, Bill Gates is a non-entity in that, a nobody. Think of the things that are being said about President Trump, and he's the American president. Think of the things that are being said about Trump's friends, some of the most powerful men in America. Bill Gates They're just talking about, you see, you cannot be guilty, just as you cannot be guilty by association. Bill Gates, I would say, was more stupid than anything else in when it comes to this. And the thing is, but at the same time, think of Mr. Trump, what is happening to Mr. Trump. Think of, and he is being accused of some of the worst crimes, which I cannot even mention on national TV. So what happens to that? Bill Gates is nothing compared to that. But at the same time, just because some people have met Bill Gates, or maybe thought, and he did wield a lot of power earlier. So, and just because he wielded that kind of power, just because he was basically some kind of a lobbyist, a middleman. He had this particular side to his, persona as well. Some people were definitely taking help from him. Just because of that, you cannot condemn them. So that is why I would rather see what exactly, what is the proof that, everybody is saying, oh, he did this and he did that. Well, so let there be a fair and, proper investigation. But before that, let's find out what Mr. Trump has done. Because a lot of nonsense, I wouldn't say nonsensical, a lot of very bad things are being said about him. Even the Democrats have got up and they have woken up to it, and they are demanding an investigation. Some very serious charges have been made against Mr. Trump. Those charges have not been made against Bill Gates. It's a case of more like, guilty by association.
Absolutely right. Joyita, appreciate you taking out the time and speaking with us. We take a short break now. Be right back.